for past many years. हमारे कॉलेज से डॉक्टर अपर्णा है. वेलकम डॉक्टर अपर्णा. She is a very active member of our sports committee. Dr. Monica, good evening from Los Angeles. Thank you for joining us. डॉक्टर गिरजा सिंह है हमारे साथ जुड़ चुकी हैं. डॉक्टर गोपेश कुमार हमारे साथ सबसे पहले जुड़े. डॉक्टर आभा है हमारे साथ जेडीएम कॉलेज दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के. अनु यादव जी है हमारे साथ. शी इज न्यूट्रिशनिस्ट एंड योगा एक्सपर्ट. गुड मॉर्निंग डॉक्टर गिरजा जी, वेलकम. हमारे साथ हमारे स्टूडेंट्स हैं कुछ. प्रथा रघुवंशी है हमारे साथ. डॉक्टर सीमा शर्मा है लक्ष्मीबाई कॉलेज यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ दिल्ली से हमारे साथ. बबीता गौतम जी हैं. शी इज फिजिकल एजुकेशनिस्ट. डॉक्टर अभिमन्यु हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं. सभी का स्वागत है. केशव सिंह राठौर जी हमारे साथ हैं. अंशुमन पांडा, सुजल, ये हमारे बहुत सिंसियर स्टूडेंट्स हैं. इंजमाम है हमारे साथ. मिस्टर योगेश शर्मा है YTTC 500R एक्सपर्ट फ्रॉम ऋषिकेश. हमारे साथ राधा जी जुड़ी हुई हैं. डॉक्टर प्रेम प्रकाश जी हमारे साथ हैं. डॉक्टर सुरेंद्र सिंह जी हमारे साथ हैं. वेलकम ऑल. भारती यादव जी, सोनिया मल्होत्रा जी हमारे साथ हैं. शी इज अ वेरी वेरी कीन योगा प्रैक्टिशनर, अ रियल योगा प्रैक्टिशनर आई मस्ट से. और आचार्य जी की तो कोई लेक्चर जो है वो मिस नहीं करती हैं. सो वी हैव क्रॉस द 50 नंबर्स. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट. हम आरंभ करते हैं ताकि लोग जुड़ते रहेंगे और नेचुरल है रिकॉर्डिंग्स हम प्रोवाइड कराएंगे ही. सो जिनका थोड़ा बहुत मिस भी हो जाएगा, वी विल प्रोवाइड देम द रिकॉर्डिंग्स. डॉक्टर अंजू जैन हमारे साथ हैं. डॉक्टर सुनीता सिंह हमारे साथ हैं. सभी का स्वागत. So let's begin today's workshop for 3 days. Namaste from India and Namaste to India. On behalf of Department of Physical Education and Sports Sciences, Deshbandhu College, University of Delhi, with collaboration of Physical Education Foundation of India, with the help of Dr. Piyush Jain, Yoga Alliance USA, accredited institution, I, Dr. Anjum Padyal, along with Dr. Rajendra Lal, would like to invite and welcome Dr. Acharya Brahmdev Mukunlal ji from the Hindu Center of Atlanta, USA. नमस्कार आचार्य जी, स्वागत है आपका. सभी लोग बहुत उत्सुक हैं आपके इस गीता ज्ञान के लिए. I would like to welcome all the dignitaries, faculties, experts and students from the corner of globe who are joining us from different time zones. So welcome all. And let's start. Let's begin our workshop. Gita, the words of God, written in the first millennium BCA, having 18 chapters and 700 verses. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is considered relevant even in 21st century. It is a synthesis of Hindu ideas about Janana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dharma and Moksha. The call of Gita for selfless action inspired many leaders. Considered to be a doctrine of universal truth, Bhagavad Gita has long been influencing people not only in India but around the world also. So आज हम इनवाइट कर रहे हैं आचार्य ब्रह्मदेव मुकुंदलाल जी को, जो हिंदू सेंटर अटलांटा यूएसए से आप लोगों के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं और आज का हमारा टॉपिक है वाई गीता। ओवर टू आचार्य जी।
So let's sit down straight, bring our mind to focus, closing the eyes gently. Deep inhale and exhale. While exhaling, we're going to chant the universal sound Om, and while chanting Om, just observe the sound waves going out and coming back to us. And if we're able to catch the vibrations back, then we'll find that inner peace starts within us, and peace, we can spread it all around rather than looking for it from outside. Om. Namaste and welcome everybody. Thanks for
आचार्य जी,
the yes.
वैसे तो आपका परिचय देना जो है वो सूरज को दीपक दिखाना है, लेकिन वर्कशॉप के आरंभ में जैसा कि एक ट्रेंड है, रिचुअल है, स्पीकर को इंट्रोड्यूस कराना। तो आई वुड लाइक टू इंट्रोड्यूस जो मेरी बिल्कुल भी मेरे लेवल का वो नहीं है, बट मैं फिर भी आचार्य जी का थोड़ा सा परिचय देना चाहूंगी सभी लोगों को। आचार्य ब्रह्मदेव जी has had an inclusive educational background in science, banking, University of Mauritius, management, ABE UK, and Darshanacharya Vedic Philosophy, Darshan Yog Mahavidyalaya, Gujarat, India, and a diverse career in financial services industry and at Arya Sabha, Mauritius. He has been a key resource person for Arya Sabha Mauritius on the universal Vedic values, yoga and meditation, interfaith and intercultural dialogue at various national and international forums, Mauritius Council of Religion, Arya Pratinidhi Sabha America Greater Atlanta Vedic Temple, Hindu Center of Temple Yoga and Meditation Center in Fuming, Toronto Arya Samaj and Arya Samaj Markham 2019, and currently connected to several organizations worldwide on Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube, and Zoom. He is an author of numerous insightful articles on Vedic philosophy and contemporary issues in English and French, with daily sharing on social media. ऐसा भी आपने एसोसिएट लिसनर्स को बताना चाहूंगी, आचार्य जी रोज एक आर्टिकल लिखते हैं, बहुत ही इंटेंस आर्टिकल होता है जिसको पढ़ने और समझने और एब्जॉर्ब करने के लिए भी एक समय चाहिए होता है। ही इज अ वेरी थॉटफुल, एवरी डे ही सेंड एंड शेयर हिज व्यूज विद so many people across the globe. So Acharya ji, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anjumji. Your kind words.
It's your work.
So let's begin with the Gita. Since we are going to focus on karma, let's take the shlok on karma, which is very common. It says, karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phale hetur bhumo te sangostva karmani. That describes karma from the point of view of the doer. What are his duties and responsibilities? It said, karma karte jao, phal ki ichha mat karo, because for everything that we do in this world, retribution of our karma is always by others. Likewise, retribution of our karma for which there's no retribution in this world, or for which we've escaped the retribution, then the ultimate is Ishvara, God, the all-just, जिसको हम न्यायकारी बोलते हैं. Gita, the song in the midst of the battlefield, given by Sri Krishna to Arjun. And remember, Arjun is just very humble as a seeker of knowledge. And the equivalent word in Hindi is jijyasu. Vinamrata purvak sanvad karte hain. The 18 chapters of the Gita. The first one is Arjun in melancholy. Arjun Vishad. Second chapter is about Sankhya, unfolding the various characteristics of the issues. Sankhya comes from the word Sankhya, enumerating. Third chapter is Karma. It's more about actions. Then to be able to do actions, we need the correct knowledge, Shuddha Dhyan. So the fourth chapter follows Dhyan, Karma, Sannyas. Because we are talking about karma in the detached form, that's why it's called Karma Sannyas. Then the flow, look at the flow itself. It comes to the next chapter on Karma Sannyas, the detached attitude to be in action. And for that, what are now needed? Next chapter is Atma Sanyam, self-control, self-restraint, self-discipline. After that, and only after that, that we'll be able to unfold the knowledge as Dhyan Vidyan, which is chapter 7. The science behind the knowledge. Science not in terms of chemistry, physics, but science, when we call Vidyan in Sanskrit, it says Shabda Artha Sambandh. Though the words may have many meanings. So Arth, Sambandh, put it in the context, within the context, and then apply the words within the context. And with that science, we'll be able to understand Akshara Brahma chapter 8, which is about the Supreme Self and also the Self, because the Self are the soul, Atma, that is also Akshara, indestructible, unborn, uncreated, and immutable, and indestructible. And God, Ishwar, has the same qualities. Then comes to Raj Vidya, Raj Guhya, the essence of knowledge and the fundamentals, which seems a secret, but if we do some contemplation, then we'll be able to understand that. The 10th chapter is Vibhuti, about achievements. 11th chapter is Vishwarupa Darshan, where Shri Krishna unfolds whatever potential he has as the brilliant personality. We all refer to Shri Krishna, Yogeshwar Shri Krishna Chandraji. Yogeshwar as an accomplished yogi with so many achievements. And that is not from one single birth, Janma Janmantaron ka sanskar. And if we go into the Gita, the word comes there. I'll come to that ultimately. So that is the Vishwarup Darshan, because it shows how to distinguish the self, the soul, ourself as being from the Supreme Being. And what are the relationships between the two? Then comes chapter 12 on Bhakti. What is real Bhakti? Bhakti is simply following the instructions and the guidance. Unfortunately, we've skewed the understanding of bhakti just to be visiting the temple or doing arti, things like that. Bhakti is much more deeper than this. This is only superficial bhakti. My words may offend, I'm sorry for that, but these are the true meaning. Because when you contemplate on the Gita, this is what comes out from each and every single word out of it. Then Kshetrasya Vibhag. So it shows the distinction, Kshetra and Kshetrasya. So what are our attributes? What are the attributes of God, and what are the differences? What are the each one duties and responsibilities or actions? Gun karma svabha. And effectively it flows in the next chapter, Gun Traya Vibhaga, talking about Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And talking of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas in terms of not only as foods and drinks, but Sattva, Rajas, Tamas in terms of our thoughts, our speech, and our actions. Then comes Purushottam, how to become divine within ourselves with imbibing the divine virtues. After that comes Devasura Sampad Vibhaga. We all know Devasura, and we refer to our Devasura Sangram. So how we become Dev and come out victorious of the Asuri vrittis out of us. Then it comes to Shraddha Traya Vibhaga. Again, Shraddha on the basis of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Then the last one is Moksha Sannyas. It talks about liberation from ignorance and to move to be in the detached mode of action. Just bear in mind, we've had a series of celebrations just before. We had Navratri, Vijayadashami, and then we are moving ahead to Deepavali. All these festivals have some relationship with the unfolding of our personality and moving out of the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, in what we say, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. And if we follow that in our day-to-day life, what happens? The Gita will be living it in real life. And when we start living the message of the Gita in real life, it gives us, as charioteer, the wisdom of Sri Krishna. Definitely, victory will be ours. Now let's look at the universalism of the Gita. We all know various books translated in so many languages, but it was translated in various languages. These books were translated mainly by people related to the author who were inclined with the same line of thinking, or they were paid to do that. The universalism of the Gita is that it has a universal adoption, translated by people mastering different languages of the world and living in the countries where the languages were talked about or spoken. And comparing that to the Bible, which is known to be the most translated book. The Bible has been translated in all the languages of the world by the Bible Society. But the Gita has the speciality of being translated by people independently of any institution. Yeah, some have gone skewed onto one concept only. Some have taken only, as we say, taken a branch and interpreted that as a tree, but no problem. What we need to appreciate is the effort that was done by people worldwide on their own initiative. That comes to show the merits of the Gita. Now let's go into the depth of it. The Gita, as I introduced to you, the sermon in the midst of the battlefield. The first shlok is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. And if you look at the Gita, it's a report of the samvad, of the discussions or the question and answers between Arjuna and Sri Krishna by Sanjay to Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra, in full knowledge, says Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. He knows this is a battle for Dharma. And he knew his sons were wrong, but he was not only blind by the eye, but blind in using his judgment. So this physical battle on the field of Kurukshetra, we'll leave that in our daily life at the level of our mind, Chit or Man. This is the subtle battlefield and the real battlefield of our life. And for that, the remedy is, the Gita itself says, Dharma Shastreshu Manavam. Follow Dharma and do your karma as per Dharma. Your mind will be in equanimity mode, level-headed. And this joins Maharshi Patanjali in the second sutra of the Yoga Darshan, Yogash Chitta Vritti Nirodha. To be able to maintain the balance of the mind and focus on one particular subject at a time. And if we apply the Gita in our day-to-day life to make the right choice between Dharma and Adharma, our duties and responsibilities and negligence, between righteous actions and wrongdoings, and we assert ourselves in our specific duties and responsibilities at whatever time we have to shoulder them. Like most of us are parents, so there's a time when we are at home, we have to bear the responsibility as our parents. So this is Swadharma and Swakarma at that particular time. If we are at the office, then the Swadharma and Swakarma at that particular point in time. So if we are just aware of Dharma, Karma, and join the two, which is called Dharma, Karma, Yoga. Yoga as the word to join or to unite, not as a bundle of physical exercise or meditation. I'm just taking yoga on the, as we say, Shabda Dhyan, on the issue of the definition of the simple definition of the word yoga. So if we are able to link that, then we'll see the Gita is not a book to be wrapped in a red cloth and just matha tekna ya haath jod karke chale jana. No, it's not for that. It's a book to be read, contemplated upon, and applied in daily life. And the process is simple. If you look at the Upanishad, it says Swadhyay through Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan, Sakshatkar. Shravan, it's usually listening, because in the Gurukuls it was the tradition of listening to the Guru, it was word to mouth. And the Gita also was transmitted by word to mouth till the creation of ink and paper. But now, Shravan, we should also include reading and also all the multimedia which brings the knowledge to us. It may be films, it may be clips, etc., but we all include it into Shravan. Then Manan, contemplate on the knowledge. Just get that repeating into the mind so that it is well, as we say, stored. Nididhyasan, put the questions to yourself. How far this knowledge can be true? And where's the logic behind this knowledge? Put the for and against questions. And when you get the answers, that is sakshatkar, realization of the knowledge. And once you've realized the truth of the knowledge, there will be no hesitation to apply that in life. If I want to sum up the Gita, it's a roadmap or an encyclopedia to harmonize dharma and karma. That is, to do the sandhi or the yoga between dharma and karma. It's a compass to inner peace, enable us to distinguish between Swajan and Sujan. Swajan, our kith and kin, and Sujan, that is Sujanoka, good people. And this is the main hurdle facing Arjuna in the midst of the battlefield. He was looking at Swajan, his kith and kin and the relatives, and he was not looking at Sujan, where goodness lies within the persons at that point in time. Gita empowers us to differentiate between right and wrong. And when there's the shlok which comes, Same Kritva, Sukha Dukha Same Kritva, it shows us tapasya in Yama Niyama, to bring level-headedness, be it in circumstances of, as we say, dvanda, the opposites. Sukha, dukh, sardi, garmi, etc., etc. The Gita is a call to stand for dharma. In terms of what Arshi Manu wrote, dharma rakshati rakshita. If you stand for dharma, dharma will protect you. It aligns with the basis of Sanatan Dharma. The teachings of the Gita are in line with the 40th chapter of the Yajurveda and Ishopanishad. There's no contradictory knowledge. It all goes as parallel tracks in the same direction. Gita affirms the law of karma. The shlok says, karmanyavadhikara sta maphaleshu kadachana. Gita advocates rebirth, punarjanma. And we celebrated Pitri Paksha. Unfortunately, I used to put the question. We offer pin to our Pitara. We'll come to the word Pitara in details. But then if they were reborn somewhere, for that soul to come and eat, let alone it doesn't have a body, it cannot function without a body. For that soul to come and eat, it has to leave the body there. So there is death there. अब कहाँ कहाँ कौन से जन्म के लोग पीतर ऐसे पिन डाल रहे हैं, तो ये सोल जो है कहाँ भटकेगा. So it's like the table tennis ball between two players. That can't be, because if you read the Gita, you are enlightened on the concept of rebirth and on the concept of Pitara, we shall take ultimately in a few moments. Gita is about Swadharma and Swakarma. As I said, if we are at home, we assume the responsibility of being parents at home, or being siblings at home, or being related to everybody around us. If we are at our job, so the Swadharma and the Swakarma, according to the circumstances, to the time, as we say, Desh Kal Paristhiti, to the place, Desh, called the time, paristhiti, to the circumstances. But there should be no contradiction. We shouldn't depart from the basis of dharma, righteousness. Gita is a remedy to those who have the fluctuating mind and cannot come to proper decisions. Gita to relieve us from afflictions, because we clear ourselves from the prime klesh of yoga, avidya. And once avidya is cleared, all the other, as we say, avidya is the bhumi, fertile ground for all the other afflictions. So the knowledge of the Gita comes to clear the doubt, the sanshay in the mind of Arjuna. And if we go and try to translate through contemplation and understand them, apply them in our life, we'll also be able to clear so many doubts and come to the right knowledge, Shuddh Dhyan. After that, we'll be engaging in right actions, Shuddh Karma, and in a dedicated, properly dedicated mode, which we'll call Bhakti, Shuddh Bhakti. Because Gita empowers us to move out of the 9 types of afflictions given to us by Maharshi Patanjali, Vyadhi, Styan, Shanshay, etc. And remember, when we see Arjun we don't see, but we read about Arjun in the midst of the battlefield, Arjun describing his status, limbs are trembling, shaking, breath inconsistent, etc. It's the same symptoms described by Maharshi Patanjali, Dukh Dharmanasyangame Jayato, in that sutra. The right knowledge in the Gita is empowering. Surrendering to that right knowledge, symbolized by the discourse of Sri Krishna, which between inverted commas we can say goodness. Sri Krishna becomes the charioteer of our life, so that knowledge becomes the charioteer of our life. And remember, the last shlok of the Gita, it says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara Tatra Shri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. जहां पर गीता के ज्ञान सार्थक जीवन में हम उतारेंगे, वहां पे जरूर अवश्य विजय, ऐश्वर्य, नीति हमारे साथ है. So going on the lines of the Gita will be sure, and it's not my words, the concluding words of Sanjay to Dhritarashtra. There it says, where Krishna is, Arjun will be sure to come victorious. But in the context of today, where the knowledge of Sri Krishna is applied in day-to-day life, we are sure to emerge successful, brilliant, with all that we wish. In a few words, Gita Sarvabhaum Granth, universal source of knowledge. Samvad Granth, between a seeker and the guide, the spiritual guide. Saral Granth, easy to read, to understand. Sakha Granth, it's a friendly book, just as when Arjun is talking to Sri Krishna, it's the seeker to the guide, but it's also a friend towards the other, where no secret is maintained between Arjun and Krishna, and between Krishna and Arjun. When Arjun unfolds all his problems, his dilemma, at the end, Krishna also shows to him what is the power of a yogi. So that's Sakha Granth. Gita is a Samadhan Granth. Sorry for the glitch. I think it's from Zoom. So okay, let me continue. It's Samadhan Granth, where Arjun got the solutions to his problem, we'll also get the solutions to our problems. Gita pushes us all to move ahead. In the terms of charai veti, आगे बढ़ते रहो, जीवन रथ अबाध गति से अग्रसर चलाने के लिए सहयोग है. And it's a Sarthi Granth. If Sri Krishna became the charioteer of Arjun when Arjun surrendered to the knowledge, and if we surrender to the knowledge, the Gita guides us ahead. It's a Sankhya Granth because it details problems as well as solutions. It's a Samanvay Granth because it relates to the basics of Sanatan Dharma, the universal eternal Dharma. I'm not talking about Sanatan Dharma in terms of what we understand is about rituals. No, it's about the fundamental teachings of Sanatan Dharma. And as I said, there's no contradiction because it flows from the 40th chapter of the Yajurveda, which is Ishopanishad in short. It's a Sar Granth because it brings to us the gist of the knowledge. It's a Santwana Granth, consoling, because Arjun was disturbed and the knowledge consoled him to find the right path ahead. So these are a few comments in short on the Gita. The overview now, it says Gita 1.42. Sankaro nakayeva kulaghana nam kulasya cha patanti pitaro yesham lupta pindako kriya. As a Kshatriya, as the commander of the army of the Pandava, involved in war, Arjun was in the dilemma seeing his relatives, his peers, and his siblings on the other side. And that more of the relatives, of the elders, of the gurus struck him like thunderstorm. And he put the question to Sri Krishna, if this war occurs, so many people will be dead. And he says, Pitaro patanti yesham lupta pindako kriya. Patanti pitaro yesham lupta pinda ulaka kriya. So where will the elderly, the retired, those who are retired and rely on the young generation for care and nurturing, where will they get their food and drinks to live life ahead? So there will be the Varna Sankar and the Ashram Sankar. People will forget about competencies. Varna is based on competencies, gun, karma, subhava, and that comes in in various other shlokas. And then ashram vyavastha. Remember, the grihast ashram, married life, sustains brahmachari. The student life sustains banpras, the retired life, and also sustains sannyas, because the sannyasis mainly rely on bhiksha from the grihasti, from those in wedlock. So Pitara here is clearly the retired, the elderly within society. And Pinda and Udakam is about Khan Pan, food and drinks. So if we are taking Pitara for people who are deceased, Arjun is talking about Pitara for people who is in front of the line in the battlefield opposing each other. Those who are not yet fallen dead. So Arjun is prioritizing that we have a problem, and the problem we are running in this society is because of that war became unavoidable, inevitable, and it was fought. And then came the problem of the split of duties and responsibilities. So the retired had to came back to life, as we say, into the life of grihasti again, revert back to that life of grihasti. And there was little to care about. Scholars died, so all went haywire. The division of labor in Varna Vyavastha and the stages of life in Ashram Vyavastha all went haywire. And Gita 1.34 says, Acharya Pitaraha Putra Tathaiva Cha Pitamaha Etan Hantu Michami Gnantopi Madhusudanam. It says, I don't want to kill the acharyas, the pitaras, those who are junior to me in relationships, putra and pitamaha, that is dada pardada, etc. So remember, when we are talking about Peter, it's still live elderly persons amongst us. And when we go into the details, we'll find that Shri Krishna details how to give due respect to the elderly, but the elderly also have a duty to continue their path of righteousness. So it goes also on the theory of rebirth when he's talking about Pitara, because when Shri Krishna is going to unfold the knowledge, he will say that, okay, these are the elderly to you, these are your gurus, the uncles, the grandparents, etc. But they are going to be reborn, the body will die. Then let's understand another concept, bhakti, which unfortunately is misinterpreted as one branch of the Gita. It's not branch, it's integrated, but I would say probably one element in the puzzle. The scenario is what Gita himself, or Shri Krishna himself says. People do bhakti for two things, mainly. One person who does everything, good, bad, and doesn't look at whether it's good or bad and tend to do more bad than good. But he thinks when he does prayer, visits the temple, his sins are washed away. And these are against the karma philosophy. But there are those who truly strive to be on the path of dharma and karma, righteous living and righteous actions. Then pray to become better and better persons. They go in what we usually say, prarthana se pehle purusharth. And these are people who are going to improve their lots in life. And the shloka 4.38 says, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitra vidyate tasvam yoga sansiddha kale natmani vindati. Unfolds the knowledge about sacrifice, nishkamata, selfless actions, and knowledge taken into the best of it and applied in a selfless way. This knowledge is not acquired by Udesh. It's through karma yoga, that is, joining karma to dharma. We need to take time to acquire this knowledge, and that's why I say when we read the Gita, let's not read A to Z at one go, but take our time, read probably a page for probably 5-10 minutes, take another 10-15 minutes, contemplate on what we've read from the 2 free shlokas in the page. And put the questions and come out to the knowledge. And when that pavitra, pure knowledge comes to us, pavitra dhyan, that is dhyan ka sakshatkar, realization of knowledge, then it becomes easy to apply that knowledge in life, and achieving siddhis also becomes a child's play. And the Gita itself opens the way. It says 6.8, 6.48. Prayatnada yatamanastu yogi sansiddhi kilbishaha aneka janma sanyastat tattva yati param gatim. प्रयत्न पूर्वक आगे बढ़ना है. So put up 100% physical and mental efforts. It can't be, we know the law of karma. For every good that we do, we'll get goodness. For bad, we'll get badness. So if we put 100% mental and physical efforts, we are bound to reap 100% the fruits of that, if not now, but in due time. But if we put only 10% effort, we are going to get only 10% outcome. And that is seen also in daily life. The farmer who puts up 100% physical efforts, he applies his mind, he gets better crops than the one who's been, just as we say, yatra tatra, he's been haphazard there. Then the seeker, after several cycles of birth and death, attains param gati moksha. Some probably will do it in a lifetime, some in 2 lifetimes, some in 10, some will take 100. But the more persistent we are, and this goes in terms of what Maharshi Patanjali teaches us, sa to det kale nairantar satkara sivito drir bhumi. Consistent, regular practice over a long period of time with passion, devotion, dedication will bring us the desired results. And Sri Krishna is saying the same thing and guides us further in Shlok 6:27. Yukta ahara viharasya yukta chetasya karmasu yukta swapnava bodhyasya yogo bhavati dukha. Self-control. Yukta ahar viharasya. The first point of control is food. And most of you are probably in the Department of Physical Education, somewhere associated with the yoga. We all know if you have a proper balanced diet, you are solving probably 90% of our physical ailments. As we say in Hindi, 5 इंच के जीभ के पीछे 5 इंच के व्यक्ति जो है वो गुलाम बन जाता है. So let's avoid these circumstances. Yukta ahar viharasya. appropriate food and drinks to promote good behavior and good health. Because sattvic food tends to bring us sattvic behavior, and rajasic, tamasic will bring us rajasic and tamasic attitudes. And this impact our thoughts, our initiatives, our karma, and even our sleep. And we all know from Ayurveda it says, Ahar Shuddho Sattva Shuddhi, Sattva Shuddho Buddhi Dhruva Smriti Buddhi Lambha. Ahar Shuddho Sattva Shuddho. So what we feed this body, the organics of this body, the more it's sattva, the more the organics will be sattva, the impact on our buddhi will be sattva. So purity of food will lead to purity of mind, and purity of mind obviously will lead into purity of thoughts, words, and actions. You see, the Gita is bringing, as I said, Sar Granth is bringing so much knowledge condensed to us. Shlok 6.35, it says, Asanshaya Mahabaho Manodurnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Grihyate. Abhyas, Vairagya. Two key elements of yoga. Abhyas, regular practice. Vairagya, the sense of detachment. What will that do? Tame the monkey mind, the fluctuating mental and emotional activities to which Arjuna also fell prey to in the midst of the battlefield. Gita 4.34. Tat siddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya ubdekshayanti te janam janistattvadarshina. Go to people who are tattva darshi, enlightened. And enlightened persons, you can recognize them simply by those who keep harmony between what they think, what they say, and what they do. As Bhartahari has rightly put it, Madasyekam vachasyekam karmanyekam mahatmanam. So the unity between thoughts, words, and deeds. This is Mahatma. And he says, Manasyanyat vachasyanyat karmanyanyat duratmanam. Duratma, the evil person. The one who thinks about one, talks about two, and does a third thing. Gita, if we follow that, go to the Tattva Darshi, to the enlightened one. And I've given you the clue, the gist to find the enlightened person. It's straightforward in humility, putting all the questions to them, like Sri Krishna did to Arjuna. Ye nahi ki I'm challenging his knowledge. We never find Arjuna doing that. Often we find smart students trying to outsmart their lecturers or their teachers by putting questions in the form of challenge. Okay, you can get brilliant certificates, but in turn in life, when you get somebody challenging your knowledge, then you'll feel what you did in class. So jijyasu ban karke chalo. Even when studying the Gita, I won't say reading the Gita, I would say studying the Gita. Just be there in all humility. Vinamrata purva. And if we do that, what happens? One of the commentaries which I was reading, इससे दुराचारी से भी दुराचारी व्यक्ति का कल्याण हो जाएगा, और वो दुराचार छोड़े बिना नहीं होगा. So the evil will become good, and he or she becomes good only when leaving the evil path. And Gita 9.30 says, Api chet suduracharo bhajate mananya bhaga sadhureva samantavya samyagavyasito hi saha. So you become a sadhu by choosing the right path, not by changing the color of your clothes. It's straightforward. It's not my words, these are the words of Sri Krishna. Then Gita 9.31. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvacharantim nikchati kaunteya prajitani mame bhakta pranashyati. The transition from durachar to sadachar, which I was talking in the previous shloka which I quoted, to become dharmatma. What happens is that each step of the transformation, it's the baby steps, one step at a time. You can't rush with that. And for each and every good experience that you feel, and you'll treasure them, you'll try to feel enhanced states of peace and fruitful experiences as you move ahead in life. And when we move ahead in life, that is the transition from, as we say, even from Durachari or Samanya Purush, the average common person, to Sadachar, yani Satya Acharan is Sadachar, and then to Dharmatma. So we can all, as we say, become the Sri Krishna of our life, subject to the terms and conditions. Let's study the Gita and apply it in day-to-day life. Gita Shlok, chapter 13, Shlok 61, it says, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridishe arjuna trishtati. It says, Ishvara ki sharan mein ja, seek refuge in God. And seeking refuge in God is not seeking refuge in a mandir or in an ashram, as many tend to do in nowadays. They leave family, they leave work life, they leave everything and think by going to the ashram, I'll be able to find God. But in the chapter of Akshara and Akshar Brahma, we can read there that the best seed to find God is within ourselves. So, if we need to seek refuge in God, let's take time daily, sit down in contemplation, and gradually go into meditation. Because through that, and the knowledge of Gita is empowering, Akshar Brahma leads us to realize the characteristics, the gun karma swabhav of both the Atma and Paramatma, the soul and the Supreme Soul. And when we recognize Ishwar within us, we'll be able to hear the divinity within us guiding us at each and every moment of our life. And that when we hear the guidance, we listen to that, we'll always be in the refuge of God. So take it from the Gita, the refuge of God is not by just sitting at the feet of a guru, or sitting within a temple, or sitting within an ashram. Yeah, for the one who's reached the stage of Apar Vairagya, this is a very high level of stage. And that person is now, as we say, Vide Mukt. He knows he's going into moksha now. This body will just keep running till it runs. There will be no next birth for him. What he does, his karma, is to only show the path to others, to guide others to that path of Paramgati, Mukti, and Moksha. For such people to spend their life, as we say, in reclusion, that I agree. For those people who are preachers, staying in a temple or in an ashram, fine. For the acharyas teaching students in the Gurukul, staying in the Gurukul, that's fine. But you can't be staying at an ashram. And we all know so many godmen who retired themselves in the ashram are now in jail because of exploitation, and it includes all type of exploitation where we don't see the aspect of sanyam, self-control, indriya nigraha, control over the senses. So the real refuge in Ishvara God is not also by just hitting our head with this book or just taking 2 incense stick and round like this and then go. No. The real refuge, take time, be in silence, listen to the inner guide within us. And this at the end, after giving the knowledge to Arjun, he tells Arjun, now it's for you to make the decision. I'm just a guide giving you the knowledge, but the decision is yours. Think about it. Make the difference between right and wrong, between dharma and adharma. Make the difference between kartavya and kartavya palayan. That is, assuming your duties and responsibilities or escapism. So we need to be careful in life. We see so many youngsters nowadays just leaving the work, leaving everything, and just going somewhere in an ashram trying to seek refuge in God. No, that's not. That's kartavya palayan. It's not the karma yoga taught by Shri Krishna in the Gita. And this is what Arjun wanted to do. By escaping his duties and responsibilities as a warrior, to fight for dharma, to stand for dharma. But Shri Krishna brought him to reason. Karma palayan na bano kartavya palan valaban. I brought that shlok specially for that. Then Gita 3.22. You will see me jumping between the chapters, but I've taken a flow of ideas. 3.22 says, Bharata eva cha karmani. Shri Krishna himself says, I've never escaped my duties and responsibilities. I always do good karma. And that good karma which I'm doing is not for me, but for the welfare of humanity. Gita 4.24, it says, Brahmarpanan Bhavi. But these karma have always been sakam karma when it concerns myself. But when surrendered to God and I don't no longer expect things out of them, that becomes nishkam karma. And by surrendering these to God and saying, I don't expect things, don't think that you won't get the results of the karma. It will come in due time. But then you will be satisfied for whatever you get. Jivan mein santosh rahega. And santosh, be content, is a clue word to be happy in life. Remember, for whatever good food we eat, good clothing we wear, the pleasure is physical and just lasts for a few hours. Even for the person who drinks, as we say, the costliest whiskeys and champagne in this world, when he's drunk, he will probably be in sleep mode. That is also not normal sleep, but in dull sleep mode for a few hours. For the one who's been high on drugs, it's probably for 6 hours or maximum a day. The next day he will try to find another. So Shri Krishna says, just surrender the actions to God. And when you surrender actions to God, eventually, when you learn about Ishwar Pranidhan, this is the this is the corresponding of Ishwar Pranidhan in yoga. And when you surrender to God, what type of actions would you surrender? Obviously, it's the best. And if you surrender all the actions that you do to God, it will be all 100% good actions that you're doing. So the badness out of life has already gone out. The concept of Ishwar Pranidhan, surrender to God, and what he's saying here, Brahmarpanan Bhavi, is just about how to go about foregoing all evil things and just do good everywhere on all the lines. And Gita 3.22 says, Nana Vapta Ma Vyaptavyam. Shri Krishna says, there is nothing that I wish and I cannot have. But if for material gains, I try to attain that Parabrahma Lok through material gains, and I'm not getting it, I'm going to abandon the path. And if I'm trying to earn that place in Param Brahma Lok, that is in Mukti, through name and fame, and I don't get that name and fame, Nam, Shan, that also I'm going to abandon the path. So just be detached in your karma. And he says, if I'll just do my path without expecting even moksha at the end of the lifetime, I'll surely realize it with the grace of God. Because he'll just be doing his duties. And remember, there's the story of Kachue or Khargosh ka. Khargosh ka, yeah, I think it's Panchatantra. It goes, the rabbit says, I'm fast, so, and they run a race with the tortoise. And the tortoise goes slowly but surely, and the rabbit just takes a nap in between. And when wakes up, the tortoise is already on the goalpost. This is slowly, surely will reach it with the grace of God. Gita 14.22 says, Na dveshti sampavitran pavittani kangshati. That describes what is bhakti. ब्रह्म के प्रेम के कारण मैं ब्रह्म गुणों पर मुक्त होकर रहता हूँ. These are the words of Shri Krishna. So, what is love of God? And remember, Sanatana Dharma teaches us not to be God-fearing, but God-loving. Because when we love somebody, what we do, we look for the qualities. And qualities जब देखते हैं तो हम स्तुति करते हैं, गुणगान करते हैं. So if we are God-loving, we'll always be looking for the virtues. Like simply, ईश्वर न्यायकारी है, मैं भी न्यायकारी बनने के लिए प्रयास कर. ईश्वर आनंद स्वरूप है, मैं भी आनंद में जीने के लिए और दूसरों को आनंद देने के लिए प्रयास कर. ईश्वर तेज स्वरूप है, so मैं भी तेज स्वरूप बना. Things like that. So when we chant the virtues, in a way, gradually, slowly, we'll filter them in our life. And this is what Sri Krishna says. मैं ब्रह्म गुणों में मुग्ध होकर के रहता हूँ. So then we'll always be within those virtues. फिर बुराई देखने में क्या, कहाँ से time मिलेगा? I remember the head of the Darshan Yoga Mahavidyalaya, Swami Vivekananda Parivraja, he had a beautiful song, a few lines of it, and the take जो है ना उसका, दूसरों के गुण देखा करो और अपने दुर्गुणों को देखा करो. When we look up the virtues of people around us, we'll try to adopt them, and when we look at our avgun, that is the evil within us, we'll try to shun them away one by one. And it's by shunning the avgun, the wrongs, then we'll create space to fill in the good ones without moving away the bad ones. And this is what is being taught there. And for whatever we praise God, there's no reduction in the virtues. There's no reduction in, Krishna says, there's no reduction in my virtues, there's no reduction in my efforts, and no reduction in my bhakti. And this is Brahmaloka Nivas. Brahmalok is no other space to go. Yes, mukti is something else. But we tend to confound or to jumble between the two. So somebody who is living in Brahmalok is just living a virtuous life. That's very important. Gita says 4.7, and the famous shlok is Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Adbhyuthatmanam Srijamyaham. Atmanam Srijamyaham. Two keywords, because I'll take that shlok probably tomorrow or the day after. कर्तव्य पथ पर चलने के लिए कभी इनकार न कर. Never shy away from your duties and responsibilities. So I just hope I did justice to the topic of today, an overview of the Gita. That's why I was jumping from chapters to chapters by the references. Unfortunately, I didn't look at the chat because when I was talking, if I looked at that, that would have distracted my attention. So I think probably there may be a few questions. Yeah, there's one. Oh, that is feedback. Much needed at this time, post-COVID impact. Okay, that's good. Thank you for the feedback. Any questions? We have, I think, 10 minutes left before the closing by Dr. Rajendra Ji and Dr. Anjum Ji.
Ji. As many eminent professors are with us, Dr. Manisha from Ramjas College, Dr. Seema, Dr. Neelam Barwankar, Dr. Meenakshi Prajneshu, हमारे senior हैं, Dr. Mata Din Gupta, Dr. Ajay Pratap Singh, Dr. Virendra Kumar, Dr. Rashni, Dr. Avdesh, Shivratan Daya from Don Bosco School, Dr. Monica. Any question, please, you can open your video, you can open your mic, and you can ask. I would request, if any question, please go ahead. Anu Yadav, anyone who, if they would like to go ahead. Seema Gupta, ma'am. Yes, Dr. Seema, you can ask your question. Okay, you're unmute. Monica, can you? I'll do it.
There's somebody who has
Rajendra,
raised
can you?
his hand. Sorry.
Yeah,
Galaxy
can,
M30.
Dr. Aparna is saying very thought-provoking and insightful learning early in the morning. मीनाक्षी मैम,
नमस्कार
डॉक्टर मीनाक्षी पूछना चाहेंगी. मैम, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Anjum. Thank you so much. Namaskar, Acharya ji. I listened to this wonderful session in the morning, Monday morning, and really, you struck me at one point of time in this discourse. Being a teacher, we are interacting continuously with the youngsters with the monkey mind, and just not them. In fact, me and most of us also relate to that. You very rightly said, youngsters are really confused about the concept of spirituality. How, as a teacher, I want to be very specific. I understand the paucity of time. How, as a teacher, can we make our students understand about कि ये कर्तव्य पलायन नहीं है, हमें इस दुनिया में रह के we have to get bound by duties in the garb of comfort, in the garb of not taking the responsibilities. They just want to shun away. Anyway, it's a wonderful. I just wanted to share my opinion rather than asking more it as a question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Seema. In fact, ये वर्कशॉप जो है, मेरी रिक्वेस्ट ही यही थी आचार्य जी से कि there is so much escapism is going on in a younger generation.
Yes.
I myself know IIT engineers who have, after joining the corporate, they have left it and now they are in the ashrams, refusing to meet their parents even.
Very
So
true.
वहां पर मुझे लगा कि ये कर्तव्य निष्ठा नहीं है, ये कर्तव्य पलायन है.
Yes.
पूरे सोसाइटी के रिसोर्सेज को यूज करने के बाद, एक मुकाम पर पहुंचने के बाद, अगर आपके पास चैलेंजेस आए, प्रोजेक्ट के प्रेशर्स आए, so you just ran away. योग, स्पिरिचुअलिटी इज नॉट एस्केपिज्म. सो ये पूरा वर्कशॉप आचार्य जी का जो हम दोनों ने डिजाइन किया, मैंने बोला आचार्य जी मैं बहुत दुखी हूँ बीइंग अ टीचर, इतना एस्केपिज्म देखकर. तो आचार्य जी ने जो है उसी के ऊपर ये वर्कशॉप आधारित की है. एंड आई वुड लाइक टू रिक्वेस्ट एवरीवन टू शेयर एज मच एज पॉसिबल सो दैट हम अपने यंग जनरेशन को बता सकें कि दिस इज नॉट स्पिरिचुअलिटी. So wonderful session, Acharya ji. और आप
Just I'll add one word to this comment. एक तो we have to take probably some of the practicals of yoga into our classes. One, when we start the class, start it with a deep breathing session, 2 minutes probably. जो भी बच्चा कोई प्रैंक करने आया है ना, उसके दिमाग में से उड़ जाएगा मैं क्या करने वाला था. If you just make him do 2-3 deep breathing exercises over 2-3 minutes, whatever he's planned to play the prank or to play the truant, he'll be lost. And when his focus is in class, he'll be a better student. And probably he will find it from day one that आज थोड़ा बहुत मुझे अच्छा लगा. Then when he start getting the taste of it, he will look for better and better improvement. I'll just give you one thing. I'm running one class of meditation. There were about 10 people from Mauritius joining on Zoom. I've left only with one family of 5 persons. And I expect these things, obviously. One person within that family who is at school and equivalent is, I think, standard 7, class 7. And she was saying she hated mathematics. But by using the breathing techniques, which I gave them the hints to do, now she started enjoying mathematics. And the last test, some 10 days back, she got 24 over 30. where the average she was getting was about 35-40% of the marks. And just when you take the class, the first question to students, let's see whether you breathe properly or not. The question is perplexing. सभी लोग सोचेंगे ब्रीथ इन ब्रीथ आउट का तो वो सामान्य है, हम तो जब से जन्म हुआ है हम करते आ रहे हैं, तो व्हाट्स रॉन्ग इन दैट? द क्वेश्चन कम्स, जब आप इनहेल कर रहे हैं तो आपके बेली का क्या होता है, स्टमक का क्या होता है? Does it go in or go out? And tell them, breathe in and see what happens. When you tell them breathe in, what they do first is inflate the lungs. And when you inflate the lungs, the belly goes inside. And when the belly goes inside, it presses on the diaphragm. Diaphragm presses on the lungs, and the lungs can't be used properly. So you show to them now the real breathing process. Exhale, pull your shoulders down, deflate the lungs, pull your belly towards your spine. You can still feel there's air to empty out of the lungs. And now when you breathe in, first inflate the belly, the stomach, then second the lungs, and after that, pull the shoulders slightly up. You'll find there's still space for you to bring air inside. Then remember, the brain uses more oxygen than nutrients. अभी तो आजकल ADHD या क्या क्या पता नहीं क्या क्या आता है ना मार्केट में, and ये सब बकवास होता है, because what the brain needs is more oxygen, because the minute we don't get oxygen, the brain is dead. And the biological or medical word for it is brain dead. So if you get pupils to practice that for 2 minutes and then start the class, जो कुछ उन्होंने प्लान किया था करने के लिए ना, वो सब भूल गए, और जब भूल गए तो विनम्रता पूर्वक क्लास में बैठे. This is one way to do it. But then when you show them the real breathing process, tell them when we are using more and more of our lungs, we are going to unfold the potential of the brain. We will become faster learners. What we used to take 3 months to learn, we can learn in 1 month. And remember, Gurukul में 4 साल के जब पढ़ते हैं ना, we are doing the equivalent of MA. Usual graduation is 3 years, another 2 years for that. And it's not MA in only one subject. You're doing Sanskrit, you are doing philosophy, you are doing Ved, you are doing Upanishad. So take all these, it's as if multiple MAs you are doing in one shot for 4 years. So ye काम जो है ना, just try it and you'll see. Probably you'll get better results, better outcomes.
Yeah, it's all about controlling your mind through
Yeah.
physical activities. And definitely, Dr. Meenakshi has just rightly said the physical education classes are not for physical activities anymore. It is more on concentration of handling the stress, anxiety, depression, and enhancing the mental health. डॉक्टर मीनाक्षी, आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर सकती हैं और अगर कोई क्वेश्चन है तो आप पूछ सकती हैं, और उसके बाद डॉक्टर मनीषा मैम आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट करके क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं. Dr. Meenakshi, you can unmute yourself. Thank you, Dr. Jagpal, for appreciating this session. Monica, please, can you check? Dr. Meenakshi, आपने कहा वो unmute कर पाएंगे अपने आप को? Can you help her? Yeah, I think, ma'am, now you can speak.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अंजुम. आचार्य जी, आपने जो हमारे कॉलेज के सब टीचर्स और जो भी अटेंड कर रहे हैं बाहर के, आपने उपदेश कहूं या आपने जिस तरह से इतने सिंपल शब्दों में सबको धरती पर लाया, क्योंकि ये जो कलयुग है इसमें सब आसमान में उड़ रहे हैं और धरती पर आते भी हैं तो बूढ़े होकर आते हैं, और जो एज है जिसमें आना चाहिए वहां सब कुछ भूल जाते हैं। और इसका कुछ मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो हम लोगों का सबका बचपन बड़े बड़े शहरों में बीता है, वहां पर जो हमारे माता पिता थे वो खुद तो बिल्कुल आचरण उनका उत्तम किस्म का था, क्योंकि उनके माँ बाप ही बहुत अच्छे थे या माहौल ही बहुत अच्छा था। लेकिन ये जो दिल्ली जैसे, बॉम्बे जैसे शहरों का माहौल, और उसमें बच्चों को ठीक से ना सिखा पाना, या सिखा पाना तो बच्चे माहौल में बाहर जाके अनफिट हो जाना। जैसे हमारे बच्चे भी हमें कहते हैं कि ये सब तुमने कैसे हमें बड़ा कर दिया, हम तो जहां जाते हैं मल्टीनेशनल में तो हम काम ही नहीं कर पाते, क्योंकि वहां तो दूसरों को इम्प्रेस करके झूठ का और इस तरह का माहौल है। तो ये सब चीजें जब कलयुग में इतना ज्यादा घर कर गई हैं, और वो गीता के हमने उपदेश देके या भाई तुम झूठ मत बोलो, ये मत करो, इस तरह से बड़ा कर दिया, तो ये भी एक सामंजस्य बिठा नहीं पाता जो हमारे माहौल के साथ। सो आई जस्ट वांट टू अप्रिशिएट हाउ यू ब्रॉट अस ऑल टू द ग्राउंड लेवल and solved so many of our problems. Like I also used to think about Pitras, that they must have taken a rebirth, or they must have gone to moksha, or they must have gone to God's place, and how will they come back and eat at home and all, and they might have taken many births. But the way you solved, I just stuck to this device and was listening, and I'm quite satisfied. Acharya ji, we are so thankful to you. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Meenakshi. Thank you so much. आचार्य जी, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे? उसके बाद
Yeah.
डॉक्टर मनीषा एंड फिर डॉक्टर अंजू, उनको अनम्यूट कर दीजिएगा मोनिका, दे वांट टू आस्क क्वेश्चन। जी आचार्य जी।
एक तो ये हमें ध्यान में रखना चाहिए, we tend to push so many things behind the doors or under the carpet of Kali Yuga. Yeah, under the carpet of big cities and villages in the life, big cities and places where we live. हमें कमल की तरह रहना चाहिए. And I remember there's one shlok in the Gita, it's not coming to my mind now, where it refers to that. कमल क्या करता है? कीचड़ से ऊपर उठ करके bloom होता है, untouched, unsoiled by the कीचड़, the mud. And this is, if we do that, and that we can do by the teachings of the Gita. Remember, for whatever we see as competition in this world, जो भी धोखा फरेब झूठ वगैरह से लोग आगे बढ़ते हैं ना, जितने फास्ट आगे बढ़ते हैं, जब पतन की अवस्था आती है ना, उतनी उनकी गिरावट जो है उतनी ही तेज गति से या मल्टीफोल्ड से होता है. Just imagine, I would take one example. The fellow of Cosby, who is a famous American film producer. क्या क्या नहीं किया वो आगे बढ़ने के लिए, but look, he is now at the end of his lifetime and very infamous person. And we see so many things. आप भारत ही में देखो कितने लोग ऐसे हैं, और कितने साधु महात्मा जो अब साधु महात्मा के वस्त्र के नीचे छुपे हुए थे, कितने आजकल जेल में बैठे हुए हैं सरकारी मेहमान की तरह. So where are the things, where does that lead in life? And if we are able to relate our young generation, tell them, look, these are the role models. Do you think these are the role models? अभी जेल में अपने वो सजा काट रहे हैं, दे बिकमिंग फेमस अराउंड द वर्ल्ड। सो जितनी जल्दी उड़ान लिए उतनी ही जल्दी क्रैश। They must have seemed happy, but these people were always living with a fear. कहीं मुझे पकड़ा न जाए तो। They were never in peace. They were enjoying physical pleasures. संतोष नहीं था, सुख नहीं था, समृद्धि नहीं था, आत्मीयता नहीं था। I would just end and leave the floor to our questions.
थैंक यू आचार्य जी। डॉक्टर मुनीषा, डॉक्टर मुनीष आप हमारे साथ हैं? डॉक्टर मुनीष आप क्वेश्चन पूछ सकती हैं, और डॉक्टर अंजू फ्रॉम जेएमसी यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ दिल्ली, जस्ट चेक इफ यू कैन अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ। हमारे साथ कोई जुड़े हुए हैं गैलेक्सी M30 से, मुझे नाम नहीं पता है और उन्होंने हैंड रेज कर रखा है। अगर आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट कर पाए तो आप अपना क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं।
थैंक यू अंजू। मैं डॉक्टर मनीषा चक्रवर्ती।
मुनीष, ओके आपकी
हाँ,
आवाज पहचान।
हाँ जी।
जी,
फर्स्ट
आप
ऑफ
अपना
ऑल
क्वेश्चन।
मैं डॉक्टर अंजुम को बहुत धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगी। मतलब आज की सुबह ऐसे लग रही है मेरी जिंदगी की एक नई सुबह है। इतना आचार्य जी ने इतना अच्छे प्रवचन, मतलब मैं बिल्कुल उस टाइप की नहीं हूँ सुनने वाली, लेकिन आज मैं ऐसे बैठी हूँ बिल्कुल दरवाजे में लॉक लगाकर कि मुझे सुबह की चाय नहीं बनानी है, मुझे कुछ नहीं करना। तो धन्यवाद आचार्य जी। और आपको सुनकर ऐसा लग रहा है कि मैं कहीं बह गई हूँ, और पर अब सुनकर ऐसा लग रहा है कि जो आपने बताया कि कमल में कीचड़ कमल में ही उगता है, और हमें मतलब दूसरे के गुणों को देखना चाहिए, निर्गुण नहीं देखने चाहिए। लेकिन आज के समय में ऐसे लग रहा है कि जो हमारा समाज है उसमें पीस नहीं है, शांति नहीं है। हम भाग रहे हैं, पता नहीं कहाँ भाग रहे हैं। ये थोड़ा सा मुझे समझाए कि ये पीस कैसे आएगा, चाहे वो मुझ में खुद में भी हो या आज के यूथ में भी हो। आचार्य जी, अंजुम।
पीस जो है वो बाहर नहीं ढूंढना चाहिए। इफ वी लुक एट द गीता में क्या है, अर्जुन जब वो असमंजस में थे, डिलेमा में था, माइंड फ्लक्चुएटिंग बिटवीन मुझे क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना है, उस अवस्था में उन्होंने अपने आप को ज्ञान के प्रति सरेंडर कर लिया। एंड नाउ उसने क्या किया, ज्ञान को सही रूप से समझ करके आगे बढ़ने के लिए फिर उसने निर्णय लिया। तो आजकल की दुनिया, एक तो हम देख रहे हैं, दूसरा समझ लें कि जो हम बाहर से पीस ढूंढ रहे हैं ये नहीं मिलेगा, वो हमारे अंदर ही से ढूंढना पड़ेगा। और इसके लिए महर्षि पतंजलि क्या बताते हैं, तस्य वाचक प्रणव, एक प्रणव ध्वनि का आप जाप करो। एंड देन इट सेज तद जपस तदर्थ भावनम। प्रणव ध्वनि के बाद जो भी मंत्र आप लेंगे जाप के लिए, यानी ओम जाप के बाद, एंड व्हेन यू डू ओम जाप जस्ट डू इट एज आई डिड इन द बिगिनिंग। उसमें क्या है, अपने उच्चारण पे ध्यान दें। अपने उच्चारण पे ध्यान देंगे तो फिर यू विल फील वेयर द साउंड ओरिजिनेट्स। जब हम ओम बोलने लगते हैं तो द ओरिजिनल साउंड इज फ्रॉम द स्टमक, जठराग्नि के रीजन में, डाइजेस्टिव रीजन में। फिर धीरे धीरे ऊपर उठ करके जब हम अंतिम बोल रहे हैं ना मां पर, यहाँ पे इफ यू आर very attentive, we can feel the vibrations at the level of the brain. इसलिए मैं कहता हूँ जो भी vibrations हम बाहर emit कर रहे हैं वो अंदर हमारे वापस आता है, and it travels our body. अब when it travels our body, when the vibrations are there, we can feel that. Then we start feeling the inner peace within ourselves. इसलिए it's called the universal sound for whoever who pronounces it. Hindu nahi hai, just ask him, take it as the universal sound and just follow the vibrations. अब जब ये sound जो है digestive force से निकल करके spine पे travel हो करके हमारे यहाँ मस्तिष्क पे vibrate कर रहा है, it's balancing the flow of energy along the spine. And when it balances the energy across the spine, it balances the energy across the whole body. फिर उसके बाद जो भी मंत्र आप लेकर के जाप करते हो उसका अर्थ लेकर के आप जाप करो. क्यों? क्योंकि अर्थ भाव रूप में लेकर के जाप करेंगे तो your mind will be on the meaning of the mantras. तद जपस तदर्थ भावनम. ऐसा नहीं कि किसी ने मुझे मंत्र दिया है उसका मीनिंग ही कुछ नहीं है, उसमें कुछ मिलेगा नहीं. बिकॉज जब भी माइंड इस मंत्र से बाहर गया, we can't bring it back because we don't know the meaning. So महर्षि पतंजलि का जो फॉर्मूला है ना, that is very effective and powerful. And probably we'll get the opportunity to brush about it some more in tomorrow's session, Karma Yoga. Yeah. And how to be better focused in it.
शुक्रिया. डॉक्टर अंजू.
वैसे डॉक्टर मुनेश ने
मैं चाहूंगी कि जब भी आचार्य जी का सुबह प्रवचन हो प्लीज मुझे इन्फॉर्म करिए ताकि मैं उनको सुन पाऊं. एंड आई एम वेरी इमोशनल टुडे, इसलिए मैंने वीडियो नहीं ऑन किया. इतना अच्छा, मतलब थैंक यू वंस अगेन, थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Okay, just for your info, I don't use it in the form of pravachan. I use it in a way to awaken the sense of how to bring the knowledge into practical day-to-day life.
जी.
Application of knowledge practically. And वैसे डॉक्टर मुनेश ने बहुत I'm not agree with the statement जो डॉक्टर मुनेश ने दी कि मैं ज्यादा इन चीजों में इन्वॉल्व नहीं हूँ. She always guide.
अब हो गई.
नहीं, she always guide juniors very well. मैं अगर दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में हूँ तो वो इनका और मेरा एक वार्तालाप था 3 घंटे का फर्स्ट मीटिंग में, जिसकी वजह से मैं दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में हूँ. शी इज द वन एंड ब्लेसिंग्स हमेशा देती हैं. यही एक स्पिरिचुअलिटी का पाथ है जो वो अपने कर्म से जो है सबको इतना अफेक्शनेट रखती हैं और कभी भी उनके पास हम लोग जा सकते हैं, एनी टाइम, एनी आवर ऑफ द डे. अगर कुछ काम है तो उनको बोल सकते हैं. और ऐसे ही एक और हमारी सीनियर है डॉक्टर अंजू फ्रॉम जीएमसी. एनी टाइम इन लोगों को आवाज दे तो हम जूनियर्स के लिए ये लोग खड़े होते हैं. थैंक यू सो मच डॉक्टर मुनीश. एंड डेफिनेटली मैं आपको हमेशा इन्फॉर्म करूंगी. आचार्य जी, each time when we listen, आचार्य जी, it's a treat to ears. और उनको सुनना हम सबके लिए सौभाग्य की बात होती है. डॉक्टर अंजू, आप अनम्यूट कर पा रही हैं अपने आप को, तो आप क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं. देन वी विल कंक्लूड टुडेज लेक्चर. एंड टुमारो आल्सो we will meet at the same time, 7 a.m. India time, and day after tomorrow also. Day after tomorrow we will have the valedictory function also. Dr. Rajendra, can you check if Dr. Anju is here with us, because she has messaged me, she wants to ask one question. Okay. डॉक्टर अंजू कह रही है मैं कल क्वेश्चन पूछ लूंगी. अगर आप डॉक्टर राजेंद्र देख पा रहे हैं तो उनको अनम्यूट करवा दीजिए. मीनवाइल आई वुड लाइक टू अनाउंस हमारा एसोसिएटेड कॉलेज है रामानुजन कॉलेज. पहले वो देशबंधु मॉर्निंग होता था. उन्होंने एक बहुत ब्यूटीफुल योगा पे एक 1 वीक का कोर्स, इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी कोर्स कराया है. और उसके लिए आज उनका 11 बजे वैलिडिक्टरी फंक्शन है जिसमें स्वामी रामदेव जी आ रहे हैं. एनीबडी हु वुड लाइक टू ज्वाइन, चैट में आई विल रिक्वेस्ट कि उनका जूम का लिंक डाल दीजिए ताकि कोई भी ज्वाइन करना चाहता है वो सेशन तो आप वहां पर भी ज्वाइन जरूर करिएगा 11 बजे. अगर डॉक्टर अंजू नहीं पूछ रहे हैं क्वेश्चन तो डॉक्टर राजेंद्र, now I would like to invite Dr. Rajendra to conclude the session.
Hello ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so Anju ma'am, I think she's not there. She will ask questions tomorrow.
No issues.
So thank you for simplifying the values of Gita and yoga, Acharya ji, and taking leaf out of today's session. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a treasure for yoga lovers. So the Holy Scriptures speaks about the detached way of life through its 700 shlokas divided in 18 chapters and elaborate description about different types of yoga, which can be helpful in improving one's lifestyle. So Lord Krishna defines yoga as Samatva Yoga Uchyate. Yoga is a balanced state of the body and mind, a balanced state of emotions, a balanced state of thoughts and intellect. गीता में योग शब्द को एक नहीं बल्कि कई अर्थों में प्रयोग किया गया है, लेकिन हर योग अंततः ईश्वर से मिलने का मार्ग से ही जुड़ता है. तो योग का मतलब है आत्मा से परमात्मा का मिलन. गीता में योग के कई प्रकार हैं, लेकिन मुख्यतः 3 योग का वास्ता मनुष्य से अधिक होता है. ये तीनों योग है ज्ञान योग, कर्म योग और भक्ति योग. So it is a wonderful experience to connect with you, Acharya ji, and thank you so much for guiding us towards the right path, undertaking a search for answers to the deep questions of life. Why is there so much suffering? And what is the purpose of this life? And what happens after we die? So you are a fantastic mentor that is worthy of emulations. Accept my heartfelt gratitudes for your time, support, and patience. So now I move to the next segment of vote of thanks. Ma'am, can I go ahead? Vote of thanks.
जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल डॉक्टर राजेंद्र, गो हेड. और बहुत सारे लोग हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं हमारे यूनिवर्सिटी से, अक्रॉस द ग्लोब, डिफरेंट टाइम जोन से. तो द फ्लोर इज ऑल योर्स डॉक्टर राजेंद्र.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So once again, pranam and namaste to one and all. I extend my thanks to Param Shraddha Acharya Brahmadev Mukundlal ji, who have joined us from Atlanta, USA. So who very kindly accepted our humble request to grace today's workshop on yoga. So your words of wisdom provides the much needed encouragement to the participant. As a present time have marked much fear and worries, much sadness and despair, and much anger and aggravation. I'm humbled and grateful as your address would serve as a beacon light to develop the mind over time and cultivate mental immunity and heal negativity in the depth of our mind and heart. Your presence graced us with your thoughts-provoking address, setting a perfect platform for this occasion. For all that, our humble and sincere thanks. We are grateful to our worthy principal, Professor Rajiv Agarwal, for all words of wisdom that radiates a source of energy within us. We will ever remain grateful to you. Your presence here represents an emotional and as well as academic connect. We have always felt when you have been around and constant source of inspirations for our staff and students. My gratitudes to Professor Kamal Kant Gupta ji, the Vice Principal. Sir, let me take this opportunity to thank you for your support, which has always been forthcoming. We hope we would continue to have your support and blessing as we endeavor to bring transformations through people's life. Our gratitudes and sincere thanks to the respected teacher. Especially, I would like to mention here Dr. Meenakshi, Dr. Seema Gupta, Dr. Munish Chakrabarti, Dr. Anju Luthra, Dr. Seema Sharma, Dr. Abha Jain, our yoga gurus, scholars, yoga practitioners, and participants all across the world. We feel proud and thank you for making us feel happy with your presence. I extend my thanks to Dr. Anjum Padyal, not only moderating the session, but all your hard work and dedications, your effort, although you are sitting 1,000 kilometers away from us, so the effort you put in leading our teams, for all that, thank you so much. And lastly, we also thanks our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Aditya Saxena, and Dr. Monica Bajaj for always being at the forefront of every activity. You really deserve this token of appreciations for offering to work for more hours. Thank you very much. And the silent worker behind the scene deserves a special thanks. My sincere apologies to those who inadvertently I missed out. And thank you very much once again. And tomorrow we do have a second day of this yoga workshop. So Acharya Ji will be with us tomorrow again. So the theme of the tomorrow's session is the Yoga in Gita, the union of Jan and Karam Bhakti. So do join us tomorrow at 7 a.m. Indian Standard Time. So till then, it's thank you and namaste to one and all for joining. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajendra.